If you've got spring fever, Lowe's has the cure. During SpringFest, make your landscape stand out with 3 free bags of Miracle-Gro 3/4 cubic foot garden soil when you buy 3. Plus, get up to 40% off select major appliances to keep clothes, food, and dishes fresh all season long. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 4/22 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for details. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Welcome back to Come Back with a Warrant podcast. I'm Brandon Dinitz.
And I'm Monica Ishak. Before we kickstart this week's episode, this is your reminder that this podcast is not legal advice. It's real, unfiltered, and for entertainment purposes only. If you need to speak with a lawyer, call one. Or better yet, call us.
So welcome back to the show. We had a great time doing a podcast with family law attorney Heather Stolman, and we decided that we wanted to do a part 2 follow-up with her. So welcome back to the show, Heather. We're very excited to have you. Thanks. And everything that we're talking about is really the crossroad between family law and criminal law and where those two worlds kind of collide, but also getting to hear the stories from somebody that handles these types of cases, because like our cases, those cases tend to get a little crazy and definitely there's different types of excitement, and it's one word to kind of explain it. Yeah, excitement in handling those types of cases. So let's talk about it.
It's funny you say excitement before we get into that, because I was in the courtroom yesterday, in domestic violence courtroom, and I was speaking to a prosecutor who was talking about how tough it is to prosecute domestics sometimes. And
why were they saying that?
Because the same reason we get excited when we get one. Like, it's just hard for them to prove it because it's always he said, she said, and the standard is so high. Whereas I'm sure in family court it's much different, and in injunctions and stuff. But it's just interesting because when I get a domestic violence case, I don't want to use the word excitement, but in terms of like when I strategize and look at the actual facts of the case and if the state can really prove it, I'm like getting a little I am excited, but obviously I understand my client's circumstances and stuff. So that's like the part that I was saying. Like, I don't know if I should say I'm excited, but you know what I mean?
But it depends it's a case by case basis, because when you have a family case where it's, the neighbor called the cops because the 2 people were yelling too loud, and then the police come and one person happens to get arrested, and it's like, there's really no injuries. There was no serious physical harm. Those are a little bit, I wouldn't say exciting, but definitely enticing as a criminal defense attorney, because you're like, all right, this is the type of situation where I can probably bring home a dismissal for my client. Yeah. And that's like the main goal that you have setting out when you have criminal cases, is if you can get it dropped or dismissed or no filed, that's the golden case. And domestic cases, certainly the misdemeanors, that happens more frequently because the state knows what they're up against, and it's a difficult case for them to prove. And a lot of times the victim or the alleged victim does not want to really prosecute.
Yeah.
But on the other side, there's a lot of times that the alleged victim does want to prosecute, and it still may be a bullshit case, but that's because there is a ongoing family case at the same time.
Yeah.
And so that's where things collide.
Yeah. I look at it more like that invites chaos into our lives, not but chaos is exciting because that means, we have work to do. True. But at the same time, like, our standard is very different. It's more, would a reasonable person believe that you're in imminent fear of bodily harm or death to someone's person? And we do a lot of the he said, she said, but we get text messages and a whole bunch of collateral witnesses. And, you don't have to think about the criminal statute. What elements do you guys have to prove? We just have to say, what is a reasonable person going to believe? And so some people use it as a tool, and then others actually have that problem. So I think the judges are getting a little more skeptical from a family law perspective. It's just very different. When you said you were in court yesterday in domestic violence, I thought to myself, oh, is she going to talk about criminal? Is she going to talk about family law court? Because there's a lot of crossover there.
Yeah, of course. And that's one of the reasons why we were so excited to have you on initially, because what we see a lot of times is there will be an alleged victim that's alleging that they were the victim of domestic violence, whether they were or they weren't, but they're doing it in part to bolster a family case or build a family case where there, isn't one. And they believe that getting the police involved is going to somehow benefit their family case. And I feel like it probably does more to complicate things than to make it easier to deal with a family case, right?
It definitely complicates things.
Yeah.
And if you look back I would say look back 15 to 20 years ago, they used to do that as a tool. So like some of these, the older gentlemen, family law attorneys, they used to file the temporary, the TRO type actions and get a domestic violence injunction in place just to get the other person out of the house. So that was back in the day when, you were considered abandoning the house if you left it. And so that was the person who kept the house. Nowadays, that's not so much the case. But because of those days where everyone used to use it as a tool, the judges are a little more skeptical to enter them unless you've really proven, hey, I'm actually in fear.
So based on that, how did the judges that are skeptical handle, like, if there is already an order in a family court and then there comes a domestic violence allegation and automatically no contact order in place and then throwing an injunction in there, and there's kids involved and time sharing has already been ordered previously. So like, how do those judges like weigh in the criminal case and like knowing the fact, like, I guess I should specify who's getting in trouble in that situation. But like, if the judges are already kind of siding with the person who is getting in trouble in the criminal case, whether it's mom or dad, how do they handle it when it's time to like assess the domestic violence case? So
the first thing they always think about is the best interest of the child. So if there's a child involved, they're going to look to, how do I make sure that this kid is safe? So it depends on what the allegations were. I mean, obviously, if there's like someone was wielding a knife or, holding a gun up, obviously they're going to keep the kids away from that person. But if they didn't, and it was just mom versus dad and, kids weren't even in the room, then I don't necessarily know that makes it dangerous to the kids unless there was something else going on. So they're almost going to look at that injunction, like if the kids weren't around, right? And this is really between mom and dad. Then my expectation would be that the judge is going to look at it and say, like, are they trying to pull the wool over my eyes? Okay. So they have to be a little more careful because you can't withhold the kids without some finding that the Domestic Violence Act would affect the children, right?
Okay.
So like so I've had these cases where, like kids 1-year-old, right? If the act happened where mom gets kicked in the stomach and beaten in the head and the kid is sitting there screaming, but it's 1 year old, right? Mm-hmm. Like, is that kid really affected? They're not going to have any memories of that kind of situation. But if dad had the gumption to do that in front of the child at 1 year old, is he likely to do it again? The answer is probably yes. So should they put some kind of safety goals in place? Of course, right? But they're not going to completely withhold the child. They're going to do some kind of like, hey, we can do supervision, or we can step up into something else, or we can have a supervisor at the exchanges so that mom doesn't have to deal with dad. But it doesn't necessarily mean that dad is going to beat the child.
Right.
Right. So then we deal with it a little differently. But if there's no kids involved and it's husband versus wife, then it depends on like, where are you in the case? So like Palm Beach County, for example, has a temporary order in place that says you're not allowed to come in front of me until you've completed mediation. So I'm not allowed to give you the relief to kick the other person out of the house. This is where those old school domestic violence things come to place. So, hubby came home totally drunk and he beat me, but there's like no scars, no marks, no nothing, right? So like, yeah, he was probably drunk and the two of you just aren't getting along.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I'm not going to kick you out of the house, but at the same time, like maybe one of you go in your separate rooms, right? Like when your mom used to tell you, go to your separate sides of the house kind of thing. So we deal with that kind of stuff. It sounds a little more like bullshit.
Yeah.
And
it's
how
like
do the judges
babysitting.
Right.
Adults.
They do. And it's frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, but the judges that we deal with have like 3 or 4 hours worth of domestic violence hearings a week.
Yeah.
And they do them all at the same time. And I feel bad for them. It's a pain in the ass to wield through all that shit.
Yeah.
But you could show up for a hearing with 10 or 11 different witnesses. And then the judge looks up at you like, are you kidding me? You're not doing that in 30 minutes. There's no way. So then you get reset. So what do you do at that point that you get reset for another 2 weeks out? You got to redo your entire case. I mean, it's just expensive from our point of view, but they're not looking at, hey, you guys have criminal elements here. They're looking at who's more would a reasonable person be scared of this situation?
Okay.
Are judges less inclined to grant temporary injunctions when there's no criminal case versus when there is a criminal case? Like, for example, I know in Palm Beach County, if there's an open criminal case and an injunction is filed, the criminal judge is the one that also is hearing that injunction. So they're more than likely granting that injunction because all they know about the situation is what the criminal case is and what the allegations in the criminal case are. But if there's a civil domestic case, a civil family law case, and an injunction is filed in one of those cases without there being an arrest, do you think it's less likely that a judge grants one of those injunctions?
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
I think, whether or not there was actually an arrest or not, we see so many that are just file a domestic violence action and it won't go through the misdemeanor court. It'll just be a civil DV action.
Right.
Right. So I think the judges more so look at where are they in their marriage? So have they filed for divorce yet? Are they doing this as a means to get them out of the house at the same time as filing for divorce? So I think it boils down to if you file for divorce and then a DV comes within the first 5 to 10 days, that's probably a volatile household, but it's also probably whoever was a petitioner wanting the
other person out. Okay.
Right.
That
so then
makes
they'll
sense.
deny it and they'll say, go to mediation, go do all your discovery. And then you got to deal with 2 crazy people. I mean, no offense. Divorce makes you just crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said, for me, it's more chaos than excitement because I actually hate when those kinds of situations come up. I look at my client and I think to myself, can I actually believe more of what you're telling me? I never believe everything they tell you. 3 sides to every story rule, right? But can I actually believe you enough? And then I make them bring me the proof.
Yeah.
Right. So then it's okay, what are you really bringing me? If it's just he said, she said, and there's no recorded voicemails that say oh, I hate you, blah, 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 all that.
I mean, you have to do your job and provide the evidence for the fact finder, i.e. the judge, to make a favorable ruling for your client. So you need to be able to provide whatever that is. So
the proof is so important, not just for, one of the big examples, because, as we're filming this right now, one of the big examples of domestic violence is the girl that's on Secret Life of Mormon Wives.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she was supposed to be the Bachelorette.
Paul.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this video comes out of she's no longer the Bachelorette because this video came out of her flipping out and throwing a chair near her kid and having a full-on domestic incident.
The video.
How did they not know?
They did know. They did know. So
you're talking about ABC.
Yeah. Why did they let this happen?
Because they had already spent tens of millions of dollars putting the show together,
right,
and
but they should have vetted her first.
They absolutely should have vetted her.
That's public record.
No, exactly. And she was on probation for it, and it was on Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, on the reality TV where she was on.
That video wasn't though.
The video,
and that changes everything. When a video gets released, that changes everything.
Yeah,
true. But they could have also probably gotten their hands on it. Did they even try to get it?
I don't know. I think the guy leaked it.
But
to be candid,
okay.
I think that guy leaked it for that purpose. Video. Yeah, but you have to remember something. We live in an age where when the video comes out, that changes everything. And I think about that all the time. Do you remember who Ray Rice is?
No.
So Ray Rice was a football player for the Baltimore Ravens, a running back, really, really good player. Gets a domestic violence incident that occurs, and he is, I believe he's suspended. The video comes out. And it shows him knocking this woman unconscious.
Was this the one in the elevator?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
And when that happened, he was banned from football.
Right.
And it changes things because when the video of something comes out, when you start to see the video, it changes everything. It makes the entire situation completely different.
It's like P. Diddy in the hallway.
Correct. But that changes things. When you see that,
right.
That to me, when we've talked about the Diddy case in general, but when you see that video, you're like, all right, there is what we're always looking for is where's the proof, where's the evidence, where's everything?
Right.
It's right there.
Yeah. The thing is, so I think there's a difference between that football player and Taylor Frankie Paul. Not to defend her actions, because I saw the video and I was disturbed by it, but I also am a fan. So I'm just
a fan of hers.
I'm not gonna lie.
Fair enough.
But he was under suspension pending investigation versus her. She had shot this whole season 3 years after this incident that you're talking about, and now this video is coming out. Like,
she
how
had
is
a
that
new
fair?
she has a new incident that came out.
Yes, and
she
now,
has a brand new domestic incident that's being investigated.
Yes, and so now the crossover with the two is now being a whole thing. But they suspended her for that video.
They took away. They stopped.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or I should.
Well, how can you put on like, because I think those shows like The Bachelor, I think that shit's fake anyways. So like I think a lot of it is like scripted or like if it's not scripted, then the producers push you to do certain things.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
Yeah.
So to me, like they can't sit there, ABC, the owners of Disney, and put this princess on that's waiting for the right man to find her. And it's like, she's absolutely out of her mind. Like you're trying to set up a domestic relationship with somebody who will throw a chair in front of a kid.
It's done. They already shot the season.
They clearly didn't get together though.
Yeah.
That's probably, she probably didn't find somebody.
No.
So
But
that
to your
saves you
credit
having to
of what
watch
you
all those
said.
episodes.
Exactly. So if they know that she's going to throw the chair and they know that she's crazy, then you expect that even if that video came out, that's exactly who you put on television.
Yeah, if you're gonna have if you're having like a trash show, not if you're trying to paint like this beautiful like romance story with we're giving out roses. Like, no, if you want to have like some trashy fucking ratchet VH1 type of show, like
I love that.
Yeah, like we want the chick that throws chairs like to be the one that all these guys are fighting for.
Right.
But like that's a different show for a different audience, like that is waiting for that. But
yeah, it's like having Jerry Springer right back to back with Oprah.
Right, exactly
my
right.
gosh.
Right. That's two different audiences, that's two different types of show.
Yeah. But it's funny that you bring up Jerry Springer because I feel like that's family court.
Jerry Springer is a lot of family court.
Are you the dad? Are you the dad?
That's
Are you
Maury.
the dad?
Yeah.
Maury was the one that was doing the DNA testing with the babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, Jerry Springer was a lawyer too.
Yeah,
Like
he
a
was.
senator and
He
a
was.
lawyer.
Yeah. Was he a mayor or something, or not governor or mayor or something? Whatever.
They all know.
Yeah.
They all know what they're doing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I was on the Jerry Springer show once. I wasn't on.
Why?
I wasn't on in terms of a like I didn't like. I wasn't like. I went and watched it filmed.
Oh.
So I was on it I was in the crowd.
Did you
I
have to
was not.
chant?
The back of your head.
Oh
was
yeah,
on
of
camera.
course, of course. I high-fived him when he walked in.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I was the real deal. My friend and I were in college and we went to Connecticut and they were like filming it and we were like, let's do it. And we got tickets and they were free and we
so
went.
random.
Oh yeah.
That's
It was
fun.
very strange.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Did you find your head on TV?
Of course. Yeah. I remember when we played it back and like my friend and I, we were wearing like bright colored polo shirts because we wanted to make sure we got like seen on TV and we would easily be able to see
that's
ourselves.
so funny.
And they put us right in the row that he used to walk out on and high five all the people. So,
Oh my God.
Oh,
It was a
yeah.
win. And you did all that for free.
totally.
that
It
for you.
was awesome. I don't remember what the chaos was at the time that was on the show.
What the drama was.
Yeah.
Really.
No,
just
so
remember
for
that
clarification,
was like-
I was just in the audience.
Yeah.
I was not
I
on
saw
it.
Jerry Springer
Yeah.
before. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Not
That's so
participating.
No baby mama drama in my life. Thank God.
Thankfully, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, not for me. But anyways.
Do you deal with a lot of baby mama drama?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the
like
time.
where people are like saying like he's not the dad.
Oh, I had a couple of those cases. Yeah. Those in the beginning of my career, those were all like the NBA players
Oh
saying like,
my
I don't
God,
really
yeah.
know that that's my chick. And I'm like,
Okay.
do you remember having sex with him? I'm like, well, maybe. All the time.
That's so cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
that makes
Well,
sense
maybe.
with
That's so
athletes
cool.
because they just
Yeah.
are reckless.
You're blaming the athletes.
They just party. They
Yeah.
party. I mean, I get it. They're sought after.
There's
the
women
one
out here trying to lock up these athletes.
True. That's true.
They
That's
are.
true.
It's so
very
sad.
fair. Yeah, that's true. Let me not.
It's not only the athlete's fault. It does take
It
two to
does.
tango. But that's so cool that you did like I mean, obviously we're not going to talk about
Yeah, I can't say the
who,
names.
but
Yeah.
but you had like pro athletes that
Oh, yeah.
there was girls that were like, oh, this is the
Lots.
father of my child.
People that you
Love it.
you know that have been all over television.
Oh,
That's really
that's so
cool.
great.
That's really cool.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
It was fun.
Did it turn out that they were most of the time?
No, they were always the dad.
They were always the dad?
They were always the dad. That's always that. I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
In my book, they were always
It was always
dad.
the father.
And it was always like, oh, I used a condom. Oh, well, did you check to see if they used their earring to poke it first?
Oh, my God. Something I never worried about growing up. Literally something I never worried about. I never felt like...
Let me that story right now.
Yeah, that is...
Oh my
That
God.
is insane. Women like popping holes in condoms.
That is hilarious.
New fear unlocked.
Not really.
Well, you don't have to
not for
worry
me.
about it.
No.
Oh
For
my
me,
God.
I'm good.
That
But
so
that is a new fear.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That is so funny. So, anyways,
It happens.
back to
Talk about entrapment.
yeah, literally.
Yeah.
That's actually
My
entrapment
goodness
for real.
gracious.
They're expensive.
So, in terms of baby mama drama,
Sure.
have you seen that crossover with criminal cases?
Let me think. I haven't had too many paternity cases crossover with the baby mama dramas.
Okay.
But they're harder.
Yeah.
Because it's a case where they didn't actually get along long enough or hard enough. So there's always this like just a shit show is usually how I describe it. So like when you're dealing with paternity and they just had the kid first and then can't get along, they're usually really not getting along. Like they're just so on different planes that you look at them like you probably should not have kids. Now, granted, I caveat that with like there are some people who just get along. Of course there are. There is examples.
Yeah.
But usually if you end up in my office, it's a bad situation.
Yeah.
Well, that
In any
makes
case.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not like you hate taking those cases. They're still the same kind of situation. You just say, okay, well, we don't have to deal with alimony and we don't have to deal with equitable distribution.
Yeah.
But you're still dealing with all the same kid issues and you still have to tell them all the same things. You know, like, hey, Florida's still a 50-50 state. So suck it up, buttercup. They're going to have to figure out how to be mom or dad or whatever. But more times than not, the cases that I'm seeing that are paternity cases usually have like one parent either has like major psychological disorders or there's massive drug problems involved. And they can either really prove it or they really can't prove it.
Mm.
And like you just don't know until you get into the middle of the case.
Have
So-
you seen a situation where it's like mom, dad, and like there's a child, but the child does not belong to, it only belongs to one of the parent, like one of the people in the relationship.
Yes.
And that person that is the parent is not the good parent, and the other partner is actually the caretaker of that child, and there is a domestic violence allegation between the two.
That's
Ooh, like
so
between the
specific. That's so specific, but that's such a good question. If you
It
really break
happens
that down,
very
that's such
commonly,
a good
like
question.
frequently.
Yeah,
Great
like a
question.
step parent is an excellent parent, but they're not the biological parent.
Yeah, and then the allegation comes out, and then like it's like you don't really have rights to the right, or am I making that up? I don't know. I guess that's my question: is like what rights would that parent
Like
have?
stepdad?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're talking like, would stepdad have rights to their non-biological kids? The
Mhm.
answer is no,
Mhm.
unless, so this is a very specific type of situation, and I've only done a couple of these. You're doing a termination of parental rights with a step-parent adoption. Because in family court, you're only doing a termination of parental rights if it is combined with that step-parent adoption action. So if the termination of parental rights is denied, the step-parent adoption is automatically denied. And they happen at the exact same time. So more often than not, it's usually, it's not domestic violence involved in those kinds of situations. It's more like an abandonment. But abandonment under that chapter of the statute talks about like 2 years, no financial, physical, emotional, anything, like no contact with the kids or more. So one of the situations that comes to mind in my case was dad. Well, he was, I think he had just gotten out of jail for like the 4th or 5th time when, you know, stepdad comes in and he's like, look, I've raised these kids more than you. And he legit did. So we had this guardian ad litem on the case. I represented mom and stepdad. And the guardian ad litem comes in and she looks over at the whole situation. She's like, so when was the last time bio dad actually saw these kids? And it had been years. I mean, the younger child, who is now like 18, the younger child was maybe 18 months when the parents
Wow.
got divorced, right? So stepdad comes into the picture like a year later. So we added up how many days stepdad had been in these kids' lives versus their own biological father taking their time sharing, and it was an astounding number.
Pretty much
like
her whole life.
Right. Bio dad's time sharing was like 9% of the kid's life. And stepdad's time sharing was like 83% of the kid's life. It was just tremendous.
Yeah.
But bio dad had been in jail for white collar fraud and had been shipped off to like Jacksonville. And then started, I don't even know how many other businesses, and then committed more fraud and went back to jail. And so like this poor kid really had nothing to do with bio dad. So we come in, we try to terminate parental rights. We get through most of the entire situation, and bio dad was objecting. So we ended up, I swear to God, we went in on a full trial. Because he's, the typical, like we all say, like, oh, he's going to be a narcissist to go through that kind of situation, right? Like they're too, their ego gets in the way, too proud. And frankly, like think about it with your own kids, right? Like would you actually walk away from your kids?
No.
Never.
No.
Right? So like
I also
this
wouldn't
guy,
find myself in these fucking crazy situations. But because I know too much, I couldn't. No.
You could never walk away from your kids.
No.
Exactly. It's really, really hard to put someone in that kind of situation. So yeah, bio dad actually fought it until the very, very end. I mean, he had actually signed consent, and then you have like 60 hours to rescind. Yeah, he rescinded. Wow. And we ended up in trial. Yeah, it was like a Friday to a Monday. Monday was trial. It was terrible. And oh, by the way, like my mother she was in a car accident. Like trial was like Tuesday. She was in a car accident on Monday. So I was like in the hospital with her all day. It was crazy.
Oh, wow.
Fun stuff. Yeah.
That is like so chaotic.
Yeah.
Like you said.
That is chaos.
Exactly. It's chaos in my world. It's not exciting. No.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. But stepdad won. And so he adopted the kids, and I don't know if they call him dad. They started calling him dad like way after the fact, but they hadn't called him dad before. So everyone in those kinds of situations, like usually mom was doing all the right things. Stepdad was doing all the right things, and he comes in and he's just, hero of the day. But it's a hard blow when you tell someone like you're not allowed to be your biological parent anymore. Right. And then the kids also lose their potential inheritance to that person. It's not automatic unless
in the inheritance of the guy that was in jail a bunch of times.
Yeah. I mean, not much to inherit.
Yeah, they're probably okay.
They're fine.
Yeah.
So, but it's just sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is sad. Yeah, that's tough.
But there's usually not DV in those kinds of cases.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah. Not as much of an overlap in that kind of situation.
So what situations do you see DV in? Like mostly just kind of like your standard, like
standard divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah, standard divorce. When you've just got someone just out of control, they're physically violent. A lot of those situations where I remember back in the day when we started defining battered woman syndrome, those kinds of situations where like the woman doesn't come forward for a really long time. When she finally does come forward, it's got to be so bad. Right.
Wow.
It's the woman who cried wolf.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so like you almost don't want to believe them. And how can I believe this situation? But then you have, say they did report it and then they rescinded it, or they filed a domestic violence and then they rescinded it. How many times have your clients said to you like, oh no, I don't want to go forward. I don't really want to prosecute. It's usually because they're more scared.
That is something I have recognized when I get, and I'm sure you do the same, Brandon, when we get hired on criminal cases that are domestic in nature, I oftentimes ask my client, do you think the alleged victim wants to prosecute?
Yep.
And if they don't, I give them a call and I say, hey, are you willing to sign this non-prosecution affidavit? Knowing that there is probably, obviously, like in the back of my head, maybe this did happen, but it's not really my problem because I have to advocate for my client. So I'm not putting that obviously above that. But it's just, I have seen, like I've pulled up the clerk's website and seen like a client's name and many DVs no filed or null prossed. And those are usually like kind of a red flag to me. Like this person really is a victim, versus the ones that are like gung-ho all the way to trial. Like the one we had where she was taking financial advantage of our client. And it was definitely not the case where our client was abusing her, the way she was claiming at all. So it's just, interesting to like how you're saying that from the family law perspective. And like, I'm also kind of seeing that from the criminal perspective that like usually the ones that are rescinding or like saying like, like they make the claim or they don't report it at all are usually the ones that are being battered.
Yeah, they are. And then you got to add that extra layer on in our perspective when there's kids around, right? So like if they're rescinding, so say like what wife comes along and says, hey, I want to file this DV, right? And then husband hires a criminal defense attorney. And husband somehow through whatever channels or the wife just knows from all the past history that like, I better drop this or it's going to be bad, right? That's always what goes through their head. Mm-hmm. And then in my mind, I have to think to myself, okay, what's in the children's best interests, right? So like you guys look at it like, okay, I got to do what's best for my client. And then I have to sit back and say like, okay, shit, this husband or this wife is going to go back to this house and totally abuse all these kids. What do you do? Who do you actually represent in that case, right? Because in the back of your mind, I have to think about the kids first.
So what do you do in those situations?
I pray.
I
don't know. I don't even think I'm praying, but it's hard. It's hard. I mean, every case is different, but you counsel your client that if they go back to the house, this is potentially what's going to happen. You tell them, get a lock on your door and make sure you sleep with the kids in the room and, don't necessarily have a gun in the room or anything. But yeah, it's just hard. It's hard sending them back into the house in that kind of situation. I hate that.
Well, I have had situations where I represent victims and like they are actively getting phone calls and text messages from technically still their partner because they're married, but separated in these situations where it's like a domestic violence case is going on. And it's like, if you don't drop this, I'm going to go to jail automatically. And like, I don't know, like you're not going to be able to pay for this or like, things like that. And then like, they feel like they're put in a place and they're like, okay, never mind. Like, I don't want to proceed with this. And it's like, they feel like kind of just strong armed to be like, no, I can't,
Like they know it's going to be worse for them because I can't afford life and I'm going to be out on the streets alone. Yeah, it's way harder.
Or they're used to like enabling their partner's behavior in a way, even though maybe they're not necessarily like, maybe they are financially technically free, they have their own job or whatever. They just are used to kind of having this like really toxic dynamic between them and their partner where it's like they're always the one to like give and like the other partner's taking on point with like a narcissist.
Yeah. And it's even worse. So like when you talk to the therapists on these cases, they'll tell you that because they've been so battered for so long, they'll get into this dynamic where they think that being battered is the safe situation because they know what the outcome is and they know how to control how their own emotions react, but they don't realize that their nervous system is completely off kilter and what to do. Gosh. So they actually look at being battered as the safer of the two situations.
The devil
Right. It's terrible. So now you've got to completely rewire that person, but you got to get them into therapy first. And then they've got to do all the hard work. Oh, wait, I lost my health insurance because my husband canceled it because of this domestic violence incident. What are you going to do? It's hard.
And then battered woman syndrome is not a defense here.
Right.
They end up snapping.
Right.
So that's... I don't know. I just thought of that. I was like, that's crazy. Because like now knowing the psychology of it, it's like, how could that not be a defense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Like, at least for maybe a lesser or something to mitigate the situation, maybe not actually excuse the behavior. Like, oh yeah, it's totally fine. Like,
I think it does though. I think it does. It does because whether or not the way that the person's ultimately charged and what they ultimately are sentenced to and the conversations that go on with the state attorney's office, when you're able to say, listen, my client was a victim of abuse for a long time and they defended themselves or they took action, there's a little bit more that you have when you can start talking to the state about the case as opposed to just my client had a violent outburst.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to bring up to you, I have a new situation now that I'm currently dealing with where I have a elderly client.
Uh-oh.
And my elderly client has Alzheimer's disease. And she has gotten arrested. And this is not the first time she's gotten arrested recently. And she's having somewhat of the allegations are two separate incidents that were a violent outburst. But what I'm seeing in terms of why I'm bringing this up to you is I'm seeing her family, her children get involved and start the process of guardianship to try to take some control over the situation, really take control over my client, and try to get her into some sort of either facility or start making certain decisions for her, because she's in a spot where this is going to continue to happen if there's no actions that are taken. But it's a completely new cross-section for me of domestic violence and family law, because I'm dealing with, you deal with where mental health comes in and gets involved in your cases all the time. This is like a totally different scenario, because we're talking about the family court having to get involved because of the parent being so, old and suffering from a mental illness that is completely compromising them. And it is causing her to, go through fits of delirium and confusion and ultimately react in a violent way.
Right.
But do you do guardianship stuff first and foremost?
I don't. I refer it out, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, but this is one area where I knew I wanted to bring it up today, because I'm seeing a whole new side of the family court involved in a criminal case, which I've never really dealt with before. It's beneficial in part on the criminal side because I have very clear mitigation, and I have very clear, I have a very clear circumstance and picture that I can paint for the state attorney's office, because my client is not a bad or violent person. They are suffering from Alzheimer's disease and not realizing, getting confused and reacting. It's really sad. Yeah. It's tough to see. And this is unfortunately the second incident we've had this year. So the first case was dismissed ultimately. And this case is now brand new and open. And
the state's probably like, this is the second case.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. And I don't know exactly what the state is going to do yet. We're very early we're in the filing stage still. And I'm hopeful that they'll dismiss it.
Yeah.
Her husband is not inclined to see her, prosecuted heavily, but he also is kind of unaware that there's this whole civil case happening in guardianship. And I don't know if that is also divorce related. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's happening in the background.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. And, there's concerns over her assets and things because of the position that she's in, his position. It's just,
now that I've dealt
mess.
with.
Yeah.
So, you're basically saying she needs to be deemed incompetent by either a psychologist or her neurologist, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then, the crossover from my perspective would be the people are arguing, you've got the older couples who are arguing, and one of them says I don't want to be around you anymore, and they want to get divorced. But when you go through the guardianship, what's going to happen is that her husband is going to end up being one of the guardians.
I don't know. I think her kids are going to be
oh, thank goodness, because
her son is going to be the guardian.
Yeah, I normally see it where they try to be the husband would be the guardian, right? And then you've got to discharge the husband as the guardian because the husband can't be the guardian and file for divorce, or the other person can't file for divorce through you. It's just it's a mess.
It's a mess.
That's
so
crazy.
I'm watching this situation unfold now, and it's it's just a completely new crossroad between family law and criminal law that I'm watching this, someone at the later stages in their life. But this isn't, I expect that this is something that I would run into more frequently down in South Florida. I think this is something that I will see again. And I've seen variations of things like this before. I've never had it as bad as it is now. But it's a interesting crossroad because you have a lot of elderly people, and when their mind goes, and it's sad, and it's it's a very tough thing. And I'm just watching, and interacting and doing my job as just the criminal lawyer to try to get her out of the criminal trouble. But I'm not, dealing with any of the guardianship or any of the asset stuff. I'm just.
Looks like a mess.
It's a mess. Yeah. But my hope is that the state does the right thing and gets rid of the case, and then they can try to, figure it out. But
I'll tell you what I would love to see a little more of is when you have those kinds of crossovers, those are the cases where the family law attorneys and the criminal attorneys should talk more. Mm-hmm. So I've noticed it's really hard to get a state attorney on the phone when you're in the middle of a family law case if they all have the same parties involved. And for some reason, they won't call you back. That makes no sense to me. And then you get on the phone finally with the state attorney, and no offense, but they're usually really young attorneys who are up and coming, but they don't have the kind of experience to understand what's going on in the family court side of it, to know that there's more to it. There's usually a huge financial component behind it, that if they just talked, they'd be able to probably figure out whether or not there's proof in the pudding. And one side eventually is going to have like way more proof than the other if they don't have those conversations. So, luckily in Palm Beach County, we have the Unified Family Court system.
Right.
So that system combines juvenile, family, criminal, like that basically just, sends all our family stuff down to criminal or sends all our family stuff over to juvenile dependency. And it's a whole different animal when you do stuff like that. But when you have a criminal case going at the same time, but it might not involve the same parties, the state attorney won't talk to you.
Yeah, the state can be difficult. And I know just from being a prosecutor, there was no real education as a prosecutor about the crossroad between family law and criminal cases, when I think there should be. And there was not I didn't learn anything about the injunctions and the restraining orders and everything until I left and went to the defense side. I wish I would have learned some of that as a prosecutor, because I think there's a huge correlation between what's going on with those types of injunction cases and the criminal case. And there's impact, and they lay over each other, because if an injunction is granted and the person has a no contact order, but they also have a no contact order in the criminal case, well, which one's more important? Which one controls? And then if they go on probation and there's another no contact order, which no contact order is the one that controls and which one is more strict? That's something we see often. You
follow the strictest one.
Right, of course.
Just in case.
Just in case, right. I don't want to piss off a judge. Right.
Right. Yeah. No, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
No, that's, yeah. No, I when it comes to the no contact orders, the injunctions, and also like I was going to ask you about this because we did touch on like the DCF recommendations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you were talking a little bit about this before when we talked about the DCF recommendations a lot in the first episode, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier. But my question is, how does the family court navigate a DCF recommendation in a criminal case for like the parties with children involved?
Depends.
Okay.
So if there's already an existing parenting plan in place, then the DCF recommendations are guidelines, but I can't tell my client to violate a sitting court order, right? So like DCF recommendations are recommendations. It's not a court order that tells you that you can or have to withhold the kids. So you have to use your best judgment, file something immediately. Like I would have to file some kind of urgent motion or, I don't know that it would be an emergency type situation, but I would have to have something pending to justify my actions if I tell my client, yeah, you can go ahead and continue to withhold these kids, right? Like if there's sexual abuse or something that's going on where like DCF comes in and says, no, CPT investigated and this kid was actually sexually abused. You should withhold and we're not giving the kid back. But they don't actually open up a shelter case, right? But there is a pending criminal case going on. I don't actually have a vehicle to stop that time sharing until either A, in the criminal case, there's a no contact order issued, or B, I get in front of the judge in family court and say, hey, I've got these DCF recommendations and I got to do something with it. And you know what really happens? DCF's recommendations are a piece of paper.
They're so small. There's like 2 lines on there.
Right. Yeah. And it's like some kind of like carbon copy piece of paper that they give your client, right? Now I come onto the case and I call that DCF agent. You know what happens?
They don't remember anything.
No, they can't talk to you. They can't talk to you because they represent the state. And the state takes care of the kids. And there's all kinds of privacy concerns under Chapter 39. So like I can't even get through to the DCF person because they're in the middle of an active investigation. So I would rather that DCF person open the case in DCF land, because once I'm in juvenile court, I can get in front of the judge. I can talk to opposing counsels. I can actually make things happen. But until I get there, I'm literally just sitting with this piece of carbon copy paper, filing something in my court system, trying to build my case and hope to God that the judge doesn't come back and say, oh, well, you actually lost that situation. Now you owe my client back 150 something overnights.
So how do you
Wow.
navigate that? Like, how do you, so like especially with those like 2 lines, like let's say with like they are finding is that like with your example that there was sexual abuse and that I think the recommendation was that you can continue withholding the children. Like how does the court make a finding if you're not able to get in like the evidence to show that? And you just have this DCF paper that says that. Do they just follow? They just follow it?
They take as much information as you can get. So like all the information that was brought to DCF in the first place is stuff that you then have to go gather and bring forward. And that is a tremendous amount of work, obviously, and a whole bunch of money for your client.
It's so annoying because DCF can just give you the file. Well, if they could just give you the file. Yeah.
No, it would be the file. They won't give it to you. Or they give it to you highly redacted and you can't get anything.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know.
Right.
This is nothing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's such a pain. But at the same time, like, if I can bring forward all the same information, then I'm going to bring forward all that information. It's just not, the unfortunate part is that the judges are going to give you a short amount of time on an urgent issue. And so I can't bring forward a 2-day trial in 30 minutes. Yeah. How's that doesn't work. No, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. Yeah. But to your point earlier when I said like, hey, I lost my thought. The thing about family court versus the criminal court is, while we all wish that they would talk, family court has to talk because one of the elements that we have to look at is the quote morals and values of the other parent. And so like if there's really something going on from a criminal perspective, even if it's just like a white collar crime that doesn't actually affect the children, but if they're doing this like, you know, moving money and stealing and embezzling and all that other kind of stuff, like, is that necessarily a good moral or value that my client, my kids are supposed to be able to see? No. So it's my obligation to go investigate that kind of thing. But then the state attorney's not going to want to talk to me because it's not actually relevant to their case. Yeah. They just don't realize that like, hey, you could actually help out one of the other sides, but they advocate for the state. They don't advocate for either side. That's a tricky widget.
As a prosecutor, you should investigate your case and find out like what the defense has to prove otherwise and vice versa. Like I think there is kind of an ethical like responsibility to communicate with the other side. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if the defense attorney is trying to provide additional information from like the family lawyer's perspective, that could help the criminal case in an aspect that the prosecutor wouldn't expect, especially in domestic violence misdemeanors, at least, because those are brand new freaking lawyers, like out of school. I'm not even kidding. Like
they are
literally 3-month-old lawyers, which is great experience for them. But also like, you know, we need to kind of educate them a little bit on like the other parts of the system because they're only being exposed to such a limited area. And so like, I think they come in with just like, it's like just ignorance, you know, like they really don't know, but they lack. They don't
know. They literally, you don't know what you don't know, but they think they know.
They think they know. That's the problem. They think they know.
You know how many people I have counseled to just say like, you're a baby lawyer, go watch a hearing, and the judges will open up their courtrooms to it all the time. Yeah, like I mean, and they don't.
But I think that also with domestic, it's one of those areas in criminal that it crosses over with so many like different areas of law. Not just it could be we could have a domestic, immigration, family law like mess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
And like as a brand new lawyer, you would not even know that these things would cross over and affect each other because you're just like, oh, these are the elements. This is what I have to prove. But it's like you don't know that a lot of if you come from like a really great background, this is your first job ever, and like you know, you don't know that people use like financials and like kids to gain leverage in their relationships. Like you don't really have that life experience yet to really know that.
Okay, let me make it even harder. Okay, so you're like, you can have a criminal attorney, you can have a family law attorney, you can have a guardianship attorney going all at the same time. Now, ready? Make it even harder. Then you can have your estate planning attorney.
Oh my gosh.
Have to come in. And then you can have a tax attorney because the financials are wrong. And now we have like 5 or 6 different lawyers we're operating at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So when you really say like you just don't know what you're talking about until you get into the breadth of it, they don't know.
Yeah.
And don't try to figure it out.
Yeah, no, the thing is like, it's like, that's like, it would be so stressful to even try to do that. Like you don't even need to do that. Like
you know how many people do?
Communicate. Yeah.
So bad. So bad.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe that you also have trouble getting a hold of prosecutors.
Yes.
No, I usually
Or they call you back at 7:00 at night.
Yeah.
Depends on the prosecutor.
Yeah, it's true. And I usually am very annoying. I'm like, get me on their calendar to anybody I can get a hold of. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
I one time just started, actually, let me not share this. I'll tell you guys. We can edit it. Whatever. I ended up calling, like, because their number is 5613. It's 355
7100.
71, and then the last two numbers change.
Mm-hmm.
So I called, couldn't get a hold of the prosecutor. The number I had on file, it was another prosecutor was already in their office. I start just dialing 35571, I don't know, 01, 7102. I get a hold of like a serious prosecutor, like top of the office.
Nice.
And she's like, I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea, which is true, of course. I had no idea I was calling you. But I was trying to get a hold of this person. So she's like, oh, it's okay, whatever. She's like helping me find that. She gives me their direct line. I was like, I am always doing this. I am never
or just
not
call
doing
her.
this. Yeah, or just call. Yeah,
Just going to a boss from now on.
Oh my God, that would be so annoying. Not that I'm saying that other attorneys' time is more valuable than theirs, but I was just like not expecting to get like the most serious prosecutor in that office on the phone. I was like, oops.
That's sweet, though.
My bad. Yeah, but I got directly to where I needed to go. I was like, thank you so much. Mm-hmm. So it works out.
So let's talk about it. So what clients get wrong? They automatically think that they know more than you because they know their marriage or they know the background. And they think that because they know more than you, that they're going to be able to explain it better, that they're going to have all the information, that they think that they brought you all the information. I don't know how many times clients call me and they're like, oh, no, I gave you that. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
I gave you all of that. No, you didn't. I gave you that statement. No, you give me a screenshot. I gave you that statement. No, you give me a transaction history. Oh my God. Like, I mean, and it's super frustrating because they just don't, like we talked about earlier, like they just don't know what they don't know kind of thing. But oh my God, clients don't understand like what you can and cannot do until it's explained with such thoroughness to be like, hey, there's that injunction in place. Like, this is a good one for you guys. Okay, injunction goes in place. No contact order is issued. You're not allowed to call your kids. What do? They're going to violate. Yeah. Those are the first people who violate that no contact order. Now it's up to the other person whether or not they're going to prosecute it or not, right? I mean, like I just had this happen in another case, and it's like, oh my God, my client. No, I took it on like way after this happened, but she basically like, got arrested in the middle of the night. And what does she do in the middle of the night? Called her husband. I want to tuck the kids into bed. Violated. Add another time onto your sentence. It's totally ridiculous.
Did she call from the jail call?
Yes.
And it's recorded too. Oh, God.
Yes, it was
Not
recorded.
Great.
Like it happened so fast.
Not
like
great.
she did like back-to-back
like
first appearances.
Like, of all the phones. Like, please.
Don't do it from the jail phone.
Oh my gosh. Do you find that they usually make statements in their criminal cases that are used in their family cases?
Not usually, but
it's usually probably the opposite.
It's the opposite.
Yeah.
They'll say stuff in family court because they think that they try to present themselves so good, but they also get really triggered so fast.
Yeah, that's the thing because the other party can get under their skin real easily.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Oh my God, they mess up so fast.
I see that in injunctions all the time. It's like you start asking questions and it's like you get these people they're so furious and you're just like, well, someone's testy.
Yeah, literally.
You know?
That comes into preparation for your client, too.
Yeah.
Like, if they're actually prepared versus they think that they're prepared.
Oh, one of the things that I give as advice to clients all the time when they have to give any sort of testimony is treat the lawyers the same, meaning treat me the same when I'm asking you questions as you're going to treat the opposing counsel. Because I think it's so obvious, certainly to a jury, and I think to a judge also, it is so obvious if somebody is acting differently to the other lawyer. Mm-hmm. That is the character that I think they actually have. So what I mean by that is if I get up and I do a direct examination of my client, I'm asking them questions. They're all very pleasant, very nice. Everything is cordial. The other person gets up and they're squirrely. They're dodging the questions. They're giving maybe that's not what I meant, or that's not what or they're being combative. And it's like, I think that the other lawyer is pulling out the real version of them. And I think that a jury or a judge looks at that and says, that's the person. That's the one with the anger problem. That's the person that's got the attitude. That's that's really who they are.
And that's,
the other thing that they were doing just now with their lawyer was all an act, and now I can see they're acting, and that's a huge deal.
every domestic trial, I have cross-examined a witness that has lost their shit. What I say on closing argument is that's my whole closing. It's like, that is who they are. Like, if that's who they are on the witness stand when I'm asking them questions, imagine what happened on that day.
That's exactly right. I think
like
that every time.
And it works. It literally works every single time, because it's like you are really showing your true colors, like you're saying.
I don't think enough, certainly in our line of work, I don't think enough prosecutors teach the witnesses to behave that way. Yeah. I think they just try to, give them the golden rule. Oh, just be honest, whatever. But they don't say to them, look, the other person that's going to get up and ask you questions after me, you need to treat them the same way. You can't start reacting negatively to them, because that's how you're going to be judged by everybody that's watching this. Yeah. And that, like, cases fall apart that way.
I think they need to be trained to answer the question first. Yeah. That is the worst thing, and that pisses off the family law judges more than anything in the world. Because remember, they know more than you do, of course.
So they have to give background information that's like not even important.
I can't answer that question the way that you asked it. I'm just going to tell you right? And then the judge looks over and is like, Answer the question.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, pisses off everybody.
Yeah, because they're basically sustaining the question. Yeah. Like, it's like, no.
Yeah, but then you see their ego comes out, and now you see like who really thinks that they know what they're doing.
Their narrative is more important than whatever is going on. They have to tell their version of the story. They have to be heard.
Yeah. Yeah. That need to feel heard is usually what buries them.
I agree with that.
That's so true.
Yeah.
You see that all the time.
On a good cross-examination, so we'll take their deposition first, and then I'll take that deposition transcript and I will turn that into my cross-examination.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
Immediately.
Yeah.
And it's just straight impeachment. If you don't impeach the client that way, then like you're just wasting your time.
Yeah. No, that's trial attorney 101, baby. That's exactly how you
but you know how many people don't do it?
Yeah, well, I mean
you guys are taught it in criminal law, but there's a lot of family law attorneys that don't do that.
No, that's all I would do.
Really scary.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Depo transcripts are the best
family law, but I don't want to say a lot of family lawyers, but like I would say most criminal lawyers are litigators, right? Like that's just we are litigators, right? And family law is litigation, but like why is it that I feel like when I do go into injunction hearings sometimes, and my opposing counsel lacks some like basic knowledge. And I'm like, you are supposed to be practicing after like a certain amount of time. You should know this stuff. But
I'm sorry, I thought you were going to be better at your job. That's interesting.
They're not trained. Yeah, they're not trained.
Is that like a thing in family law though?
It is. There's a lot of attorneys in family law who just don't know how to do it because they're not trained. They haven't gone to court to go watch. I mean, I tell little baby lawyers all the time, I'm like, go watch on purpose, because you've got to be able to see how that hearing runs before you do it yourself. There's no way. I never went into any kind of hearing before I had watched one live. I don't care how many billable hours you lose. You just go back and figure it out later. But like, oh my God.
Even admitting evidence. When you're asking your client for like financials and stuff, how are you going to get over the business record exception or whatever? Like however you're going to get it in. Like you need to know the rules of evidence.
Yeah, that's totally right.
Yeah. Like to prove your case. That's so crazy.
That was a huge benefit of working for the state, and I know working for the PD is getting to go watch your colleagues and learn that way by watching different types of trials, different types of motions, different types of hearings, different jury selections. You learn so much, and you can just like steal different tips and tricks and things to do and not to do, like from the other lawyers. That's a huge perk of being in that job.
I feel bad for the judges, because think about how many of the members of our judiciary actually came from the state attorney or the public defender.
Most of them.
Right? Or practice criminal. Most of them. Okay. Now put them in family court and deal with people who may not know how to put in evidence. I can think of like a bunch of judges, and they get pissed.
Yeah.
Pissed. They walk you backward. True. They call you out. They test you. And, half the time is just preparation is key in family court. But like there's a lot of attorneys who just don't know how to put on evidence.
I would say preparation is key in litigation, period. Like just being an attorney in the courtroom. Like that is it. Yeah. That's a really good point, actually.
Except there's one family law attorney who just like literally will walk in a courtroom with no pad, no pen. It's like a running joke. And he is always extremely prepared, and everyone underestimates him.
There's a guy that I went against in a couple of injunctions that was just that meets at and I'll ask you when we're not recording if it's the same person.
I'll tell you it's
but this guy came like with no paper, no pen, no nothing. Like I gave him a copy of the injunction. Yeah. And because I was representing the petitioner, and I gave him a copy of the injunction, was like,
Oh, guarantee we're talking about the same person.
Anything else?
I guess it is.
Yeah, too.
That's
Pretty cool.
But
though.
it's epic to see that guy
exactly.
go. Yeah,
That's
it's
really,
super
that's
fun.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
Because like honestly, I don't know if I like I'm grateful for my experience. I hope to have more. I don't know if I'll ever reach that level, but to be there, that's cool. To just like walk in and try your case without a paper or anything, I'd be like, sometimes I need to remember my client's name. No, I'm just kidding.
That's bad.
Then you got too many cases.
Who am I representing today in court?
Oh, God.
We call John Jack.
No, that was when I was at the public defender's office.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Too many.
Yeah,
So we have some rapid fire questions for you.
Let's
okay?
do it. Let's do some
shit.
rapid fire
All right.
questions.
Here we go.
I will start.
Go for it.
Which one do I?
I know, because it probably crossed off your fun ones.
No. Harder to handle, an emotional client or a client who says nothing?
Emotional.
Okay.
1,000 times over emotional clients because they cannot see reason.
That's true.
So one of the things
That's a
that
good
I
answer.
always say is do not try to find reason where reason does not exist. Okay.
That's
So you're
so
trying
good.
to reason with someone who is completely unreasonable, cannot see the wisdom of what you're trying to tell them.
Yeah.
So they are just fighting tooth and nail with every ounce of their emotional, like everything in their body. And they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't think about money. They don't think about how much they're spending. They don't think about who they're hurting along the way. And they are desperate. Those emotional clients is super frustrating. And then you've got the clients who like just really don't want to get divorced. And then it's all, oh my God, it's so much harder to like pull
pulling
them
teeth.
along. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the little kid in the red wagon who keeps jumping out. That's the emotional client.
I sent you one of those recently.
You did, thanks.
I literally was like, oh no, good luck. But,
Oh, God.
Yep.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's just how it is.
What is the biggest this is going to backfire moment that you see coming for clients? So, like, what is something that clients do where you're like, oh, this is not going to work out for you well?
Oh, shit. I don't know. You might have to skip that one.
I feel like we get. I
Backfire.
feel like
Give
I
me an
get that.
example.
I feel like that happens in our
Criminal court
court all the time. When I'll tell a client, "Don't do this," and then they do it,
Yeah.
and then it's like, well, that's
That was,
fucking
I
dumb.
told you
I
that,
told you that was a bad idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they call you with the mess to fix it.
right.
You're like,
I try not to tell my clients I told you so often just because it's like it's just going to piss them
I
off.
know.
So like when I have that backfire moment, I just look at it and say like, okay, I told you I can fix anything except
you say that?
well, not anything. I tell them, look, if you're testifying, I say I can go back and fix what you did unless
Right.
you really fuck up and then you're screwed. You know, I'm going to tell you what not to say.
Yeah.
Right? But like there are those moments where you're just like, okay, just answer the question because I can't fix your behavior.
Right.
Right. So like when you see, you know, their face starting to turn red, you're like, Your Honor, I think it's time for
For a
a bathroom
break.
break.
Yeah, we need a
break.
second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
yeah. No, when they start talking about domestic violence, that kind of stuff, I usually get scared.
Yeah, they're about to go off the rails probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, one thing every parent should remember before involving the courts.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That the judge reads everything.
Ooh, that's
Oh
good.
my God.
good advice.
Because people get into like these like rage texting.
Yes.
And then they can't stop. You know, we call it like doom scrolling. It's the same kind of thing. Imagine me doom scrolling through your text chain with your ex. And you think that you were right the whole time because, you know, you've got this ego. You've got to actually just get it all out, right? So they get it all out. And then they realize when you read it back, you're like, wow, you were a bitch.
Yeah.
When I tell my clients, like, I can't use any of this, they get really angry. So, like, think
None of these
before you
messages
hit
make you look good at all.
Right. It's like, think before you
Like, what
hit
do you mean?
send. I know. Oh, you know what's hard is like if they don't see that the intact marriage isn't actually intact anymore and they just keep on going and going and going, their spouse is like baiting them to say all
Right,
the
of
wrong
course.
shit. Right? So, I mean, part of it is like if you actually like aren't having sex with your spouse for, I don't know, more than 30 days, like something's off
Yeah.
in your
Fair
relationship.
enough.
And then like from there, you can just kind of like expect you should probably be a little careful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's the social media, it's the texting. They put when you air all of your dirty laundry for everyone to
Yeah.
see and you don't realize that like you're being judged. I mean, like how many times have you told your clients, you know, I don't want you posting on social media. I don't want you posting on Facebook. Like stop texting, stop posting, stop reacting to certain things. I don't even want you to like something on social media.
Yeah.
And then you think about it like this. That cop is going to go investigate that person.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to go where? Facebook.
Social media, right?
Exactly. So what happens to us is I can download your entire social media background. And if you deleted something, I can ask you why you deleted it. And if you tell me that your lawyer told you to delete it, now you're even in more trouble.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Lawyers in a lot of trouble too.
Yeah.
But like, it's crazy. The shit that I have seen in text message.
Do people actually blame their lawyers?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
I would be so mad.
All the time.
Big
Well,
no,
they blame
I'd be
their
looking at Judge being, no.
Right. They blame their lawyers to each other. They're like, oh, my lawyer told me to do that. Right. I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, that was attorney-client privilege. Like, please
Don't say that.
Don't.
I like when my clients try to like threaten that I'm going to do something, like that my lawyer is going to handle this. And it's like, I am that guy.
Right? You're like, yeah, that's me.
I am the one that's going to, let's everybody pump the fucking brakes. Okay. Like, I'm not going to do fucking anything right now.
Oh,
everybody
no, I love
pump the fucking brakes.
When you go back to me, you say, okay, pump the fucking brakes. But what exactly did you think I was going to do?
What did you think I was going to do?
That's the question.
My lawyer, wait till my lawyer hears about this. I'm him. I've heard.
I heard about it.
I've heard about it.
This is not
I'm not doing anything
legal.
about it. That's
this
ridiculous.
Is not suits. That shit does not happen that way.
None of that shit works.
Right.
People love to say that though.
They do.
I know.
I told him to speak to my lawyer. And it's like, I know your lawyer, okay? We're not all fucking intimidated. Relax.
I know. The first thing I tell my clients is, I love that you think that I am that controlling and that important.
And I have that much power.
I have that much influence.
That I have that much power, right?
I walk in a room and there's a theme song playing. Like, I'm that guy.
Exactly. Like a baseball, like the baseball players.
The walk-ups. Yeah, I hear you.
What
That's exactly
your
right.
Theme song?
Ooh. It's a good one. That's a good question.
That is a good question. Okay, so I'll tell you mine.
That's my
I'm going to tell you mine just because it's fun. So when I was in college, my roommate, Katie, she's fucking hilarious. Katie is now an optometrist. And Katie used to, like, every time we would go in for a major test, she would run behind you, run around the entire house singing the Rocky theme song and pumping her arms. Right. So like now I have it in my head every time I walk through the car, like dun, 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 dun. No, it's mine. I own it.
That's amazing. That's a good one.
Such a good question.
That's a really good one. Or no?
No. I think we're good. No, I'm just kidding.
She keeps making us go over time.
Let's see. Just
do one of these spicy ones.
One of these.
Does it have a spicy margarita with
spicy. I like how we have a category called spicy questions. All right, let's see. Let's try this one. If you could ban one piece of advice that people get from friends or the internet, what would it be?
Ban advice. I mean, can I just ban all of their friends' advice, period?
Yeah.
Like, here's part of the problem is when you come into a family law attorney's office, they're like, oh, well, my friend had this happen in their case, and then I have to unravel everything that was said, right?
Yeah.
But like at the same time, I have to tell them that they have to lean on their support system. So whatever that support system actually means to them, they just have to take it with a grain of salt and come to me and ask me if that's good advice before they run with it. Because the problem that I see is like, okay, well, my friend told me to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah, that was really bad advice.
Yeah, my friend told me to steal all my money from my ex-husband.
Yeah, take all the money out of the bank account. Right, I hear that all the time.
Yeah,
move all the money. And I'm like, don't move all the money. Move half the money.
Don't do that.
Open up a separate bank account and then don't touch that shit. And they're like, no, I'm going to live off of it. I'm good. I'm fine. I'm like, oh.
Do people actually take all the money?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
People get crazy.
That is so bad.
Yeah. They'll move hundreds of thousands of dollars
that's what
just
I'm
to fuck with the other side.
That is so crazy. People can get, not arrested. I mean, I guess you can, but like.
Get in trouble for that.
Yeah, but you can't get an injunction for money issues, right?
Yeah.
So just go ahead.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Well.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Today was so much fun.
That was fun.
Yeah. It was a great second
Always
episode.
fun.
I would love to say that we're going to do a third, but maybe down the line. We're
maybe
not
in
gonna,
the future.
we will. Yeah.
We'll come up with something.
Yeah.
We'll come up. There'll be an issue that crosses over again, and we'll do another episode. That'd be fun.
Yes.
But in the meantime, if you liked listening to the show, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Give us a 5-star review, and make sure you subscribe to our weekly newsletter for all your gems. And if you didn't like listening to us,
come back with a warrant.
If you've got spring fever, Lowe's has the cure. During SpringFest, make your landscape stand out with 3 free bags of Miracle-Gro 3/4 cubic foot garden soil when you buy 3. Plus, get up to 40% off select major appliances to keep clothes, food, and dishes fresh all season long. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 4/22 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowes.com for details. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii.